Hi, welcome back to Seriously Social podcast where we talk about everything in social media. Today we're talking about 2026. Can you believe?
Wow. Really?
Like that's actually wild to me, but
By the time you're listening to this, it's already probably 2020.
No.
Maybe even 2027.
No. In social, I mean, look, you really do have to be as ahead as possible. It sounds so cliche, but it's like things are moving and changing so quickly.
Yeah,
If
so
you're not
fast.
thinking ahead, you're already behind. So let's talk about Q1.
Q1?
About Q4.
Yeah.
Okay.
So much changed in the social landscape from platform to platform in 2025, which obviously means there's a lot of change to come in 2026.
Right.
So I think let's start by talking about where it's probably best to invest both your time and your resources in Q1 2026. Where do you start?
So, I mean, I have a few things. The biggest one, and it's been on top of my mind for the entire year and kind of every social media marketer's mind, which is organic social media.
Right.
And I mean, that covers a lot of different things, right? That covers creating content, that covers building a community, responding to people. But what I think is the biggest opportunity is around the content creation side of things.
Okay.
Especially for larger and medium-sized brands. If they're able to put even a small percentage of their typical media budget, so billboards or TV, into social content production, they'll see a much higher return than they would just buying a billboard. And the opportunity, like we talked about in some of our past episodes, is completely new on social, right? Like you could have 10,000 followers and I could have 1 million, but you could post something that way outperforms my post now today because of the way the algorithm works.
Yeah.
So you want to get as much content out there as possible. So I mean, that's what I'm excited about is if brands are willing to invest the money into volume social content.
Right.
Okay, I know we've talked about this quantity versus quality before, but where would you say there's a balance to that? Because I think you're right. I think it is. A lot of people think social is just
You got to do both.
play, but
you got to do volume and you got to do
Quality, yeah.
one or the other is
you must do it all.
yeah,
or really.
they don't go. You don't get one or the other. It's not that thing where it's like you get fast, cheap, or good.
Yeah.
Right? Like you get to pick
Pick
two.
two, yeah.
It's not like that. No, like you got to do volume and you got to do it really well.
Yeah.
So there has to be strategy, obviously, behind what you're creating, but it is important to be creating more and putting out more, is what you're saying.
That's right.
And not only putting all of your resources towards behind paid efforts, but also just what's going out organically day to day.
Well, pay to play has always been, especially for our marketers, been the dream because it was so easy to literally spend the dollars. And the biggest brands would win because they had the dollars. Now, what we're saying, and we said this in that organic, or I believe in that another episode where we talked a little bit more about organic social, but it is free, literally free views. All you have to do is create. And to Keith's point, that's where it gets complicated. It's like working out. It's like you can talk about it all day, but you're not going to get fit. But if you actually go in and start to put in effort into the amount of creative that you're creating and the quality of that creative, it's hard. It is a science to the art. But if you do both at scale, then you win. And AI is making it easier. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but you got to be careful also with everything that's going on in the world of AI.
No, absolutely, you're right. I think the analogy of like working out versus going to the gym, I think that's such a good way to put it, especially as like a New Year resolution type of view of the whole thing.
Right.
It's like, yes, you can go to the gym every day or even just talk, let's say beyond talking about it, you're going to the gym every day. But if you don't know what you're doing there and you don't have an actual plan and a strategy that's specific to what you are trying to accomplish,
That's right.
then again, you're just wasting your time and your
I agree.
effort. So
And
you really need to
add on even on top of that, you may know what you're doing, but to Keith's point, if you're not investing in actually doing it properly and executing against it, then it doesn't work. You can do push-ups and they can be wrong completely. I mean, you may still get a little bit stronger, but if you want to optimize and maximize the return of that healthy eating or going to the gym, same thing with social media, where to invest some of your dollars for 2026, focus on good creative and scale.
Yeah. I would add to that, I think great content, lots of content, and consistency are very important. Beyond that, one step further is inbound and outbound engagement.
Yeah,
right? So
huge.
exactly what you're talking about is you have this huge opportunity with organic content, paid content as well, but it's quote unquote free to respond to your comments, to answer messages, to go outbound and post on other people's feed, right? And leave a comment and create this conversation around your brand. That is free. And that's something that a lot of people don't, I think, place enough value in.
I agree.
add to their strategy soon enough. So I think that's another huge one.
I agree. And then I think a lot of people, especially now with it being almost, middle of Q4, end of the year for all of my math and, data nerds, but they start to look at all the numbers and they're like, hey, where should we invest? Where do we maximize? Where do we optimize? And they're like, hey, we need to be publishing less. I hear this all the time in the Fortune 5000. They're like, we need more reach and awareness, but for less posts. And I'm like, yeah, you can do that. But why not go as many times as possible? And they're like, well, what we've seen is diminishing returns. Fair. I do understand this. The more that you actually post, the more frequent, the higher the cadence, it does diminish some of your returns. Your engagement rate drops a little. Maybe your total metrics, total impressions, total engagements, all those scale. But on average, things do diminish. But add that up by the multiplier of the number of times you now took that opportunity versus siloing it and limiting the number of times you do that.
That's a really good point.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing I'm really excited about, obviously organic social is huge, but TikTok Shop is the new Shopify.
Yeah.
But just with traffic already built in.
Yeah.
Right? Like you could build a Shopify store, but you got to figure out how to drive traffic to it.
Right.
You could build a TikTok Shop and you have traffic built in right on the platform.
One button.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in several episodes. So if this is the first time you're hearing it, pay attention because this isn't the first time we've said it. But you're right. E-commerce and specifically social commerce, and then even more specifically TikTok Shop, there is so much value there. And the barrier to entry, like the barrier to the number of steps it takes for someone to actually purchase something has gone down significantly, specifically on TikTok Shop. So yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want to harp too much on TikTok Shop because we did a whole episode around it, but it's huge. I'm really excited to see what they do with the shop itself, what capabilities it are released in 2026. So I'm excited about that. And then the last...
Before you move on, have you guys seen Amazon Haul?
I have not, actually.
It is a new beta. I don't know if it's a full app or program or whatever it is, but Amazon is testing what's called Amazon Haul, H-A-U-L. And it is very, very similar to TikTok Shop.
Interesting.
The way that it's set up, the way that the UI looks, the way that you interact with it, very, very similar. Right now it's in beta. I actually saw an ad for it the other day and I hopped on and played around. And it's
huge.
Exactly like TikTok Shop. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to make it into its own app or if it's going to be built into another social app. I'm not sure, but...
Interesting.
Keep your eyes out.
Well, like we've talked about this when we talked about TikTok Shop, but live social shopping is going to be the norm. It is a multi-trillion-dollar industry now in, I think, China. And in America, even though I do think it's caught heat, there's still so much opportunity. So anybody selling anything online, digitally, it doesn't even have to be a physical product. You need to be figuring out how you're selling that product or service through live commerce. And the TikTok Shop is a great place to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing we've talked about in the past that I'm really excited to see what happens in 2026 is Reddit.
Oh, yeah. Huge
Not much to say about that. We have a whole episode around Reddit. Go watch that where we go into detail about Reddit marketing. But I'm excited to see what Reddit as an organization does. And I'm more excited to see how brands start to capitalize on the attention there.
Yeah, good
I'm going to talk a little bit. I think like you said, we have a full episode on Reddit, but just specifically right now, a little bit more about how Reddit and LLMs kind of combined that effort looks like and why it could be.
Well, yeah, it's funny because
valuable.
It's kind of at a crossroads, right? So it started off as all the LLMs training on Reddit data. So Reddit was a big influence of answers. Then Reddit stopped LLMs from crawling their site. So now a lot of answers are still informed by Reddit, but not as much as it used to be, newer ones.
Okay.
And then what's going to happen is Reddit's going to license their API to the LLMs, which the LLMs are going to have to purchase if they want the most up-to-date information, because Reddit is where the conversation is happening.
Right.
So it's a big win for Reddit that they locked down the LLMs from scraping, because now the LLMs have to purchase the API. And purchasing the API will do multiple things, right? One, it'll give the users a better experience because now the LLM will have more data than just the public scraping. Because they'll have information about the user now, they'll have information about the metadata in the post, everything. They can use that.
So as a brand, Reddit can be a very valuable place to live,
Absolutely.
to be, for that reason. Because People are using LLMs more and more to search for.
Even if it wasn't for the LLMs, like just think LLMs didn't exist. Reddit in itself is a huge
community,
and a place where sentiment is either driven positive or negative. So yeah, absolutely, Brent.
And we talked about this on the Reddit episode. The trust there within that community is insane. And what do we talk about on this show? Pretty much everything about influence, and the users on Reddit have an influence on a lot of different brands.
And Reddit is not one huge community, right?
Yeah,
they're
micros. Yeah.
I think another one to add to all this, and this is again something that we have talked about, we have a full episode on it, is social engine optimization. So platforms like specifically Instagram and YouTube right now, TikTok as well.
Right.
All of your captions, all of your descriptions, the topics that you talk about, all of that is being indexed.
Right.
All those keywords are being pulled, and all of that is now part of social engine optimization, which is, if you don't know already, exactly what it sounds like, which is using these social platforms as a search engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm on TikTok and I want to know, how do I use this DJI mic and blah, 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 I can find that exact information using those keywords. And if you've made a post about it, you're winning my attention.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are my top three, right? Organic, social, TikTok Shop, and Reddit.
Yeah. Mine would be social optimizations, social engine optimization for sure.
I agree.
Paying attention to that.
I think live commerce, but then to Keith's point, organic social is probably one of the biggest one. But there's so many different, buckets within organic. But really, on top of that, for 2026, when you really start to think about where you want to start investing, even a little bit of those marketing dollars or those media budgets, I've started to look a little bit deeper into where I believe a lot of eyeballs are starting to shift to, but because either the advertising platform is new or it doesn't have as many dollars being spent on it, these more smaller types of placements on different platforms, and a few examples are Snapchat Spotlight. Okay. Threads is another big one that has released a lot of different opportunities now when advertising on it. If you've been advertising on Meta, you've probably seen some things here and there, but now there's a full global release pretty much that happened earlier this year that allows Threads to not only be utilized by every advertiser, but on top of that, the number of placements, the types of formats of creative that you can add on there, all of that has expanded. Reddit, we talked about it on our Reddit episode again, which is the Reddit ads opportunity. But what I'm ultimately hinting at is where are people gravitating their attention and their awareness to, but where are CPMs and costs still low? And that's where these platforms play a big role, because if you're an early adopter, you can think about all of the different things. When Google AdWords first came out and you can buy keywords for cents, when Meta and Instagram and all those platforms came out and all the CPMs were lower, when TikTok came out and people were harping on it and the CPMs, everyone's like, it's for little kids, but the CPMs there were cheap.
Yeah.
And so what you start to see is where attention is early new releases around ad platforms or new features around ad platforms, low cost CPM, and then trying and testing and being an early adopter. Yeah. I think that's where you can win.
Which is one thing I'm excited about is ChatGPT ads.
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
They've hinted at it, and a couple of people on X have talked about OpenAI putting ads on the platform. Mm-hmm. So we'll definitely be running ads there. I'm sure a lot of our customers will want to run ads there. So it'll be interesting to see.
That is really interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I didn't know that they were releasing ads. I figured it was kind of inevitable at some point. It's just like Google, right?
It's not confirmed, but it is inevitable.
I do think so too. When you have it that much,
wherever the eyes are,
that's right. You have opportunity to monetize.
Google, right? Like the first 3 things you see,
that's right.
Those are sponsored. Those are an ad. So same thing, and that's just a search engine. Which I know those aren't exactly the same thing, but
I agree.
Kind of.
One thing I didn't name to add on, and I named some nuanced platforms, Reddit, Snapchat, Threads. But one thing that I forgot to add on top of that is actually social advertising to CTV, so the streaming networks. This is a big opportunity. LinkedIn does it actually very natively and naturally itself. I'm sure the other platforms are adapting, but being able to understand what are the 3 most consuming when it comes to a user's attention or individual's attention, what are the 3 most common things? It's streaming networks, it's gaming, and it's social media. So most of people's attentions are on one of those 3 things.
Right.
So if you have social media and you're running organic, you're running ads, but you're like, hey, the journey stops when they drop the phone down, this is that opportunity where translates social to CTV. And I think there's a huge opportunity there. And some of the platforms are natively figuring out how they can run campaigns that tie in both together.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if we were to sum it all up for 2026, what would be kind of your top, let's say, three tips or areas where you believe people should be spending their time and really looking into putting their resources and investing?
Yeah. One is organic social for me. Top priority.
So content creation specifically for organic.
Yeah, well, organic goes into content creation, absolutely. It goes into community management. It goes into incentivizing UGC. It goes into owning some sort of community and other things. So organic as an umbrella, not just the production.
Right. I think it's really good that you mentioned kind of all those different aspects to it. I think they're all very valuable and important. And it's key not to kind of skip over any one of those things, right? Like you can have great content going out all day long, but if you're not engaging then with the users that are commenting on it, wasted.
Exactly.
Right. And then same thing, vice versa. If you have all these influencers you're spending really big dollars with, and their network is getting a lot of, eyeballs on the content, and you're getting a lot of views from that, but then you're not following up with what comes after that, you get missed opportunity. So yeah, that's a huge one. So just overall, the umbrella of organic content. What else for your end?
Within organic, if you had to Keith's point and your point, since there is so much, if you had to, everybody doesn't have unlimited resources, right? It's not even about monetary. It's about time and the investment and the number of people. So if you have limited resources, focus on content creation. That could be through influencers or creators or AI or internal resources, many different avenues, but whatever content creation capabilities, invest there, invest in community and fostering and building and growing that community. And then I think the third piece, and I think a lot of big brands do this wrong. I get it. Numbers are everything, but they invest heavily in data and reporting and social ROI.
Right.
We've talked about social ROI on one of our episodes as well. We understand the importance of it, but instead of investing so many dollars, invest in the execution and the actions that will impact the ROI, which is creative, which is the community, and then I think which is brand storytelling. And that's a big one that I think we can have its own episode on it.
Yeah. I agree.
And going live. I think live is making a huge comeback. I'm not talking about live commerce. I'm talking about just
going live. Yeah.
Going live.
Yeah. I mean, it was huge in like 2022, 2023, then it kind of died. Maybe even 2021.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 2026, you'll see a lot of people and brands
I agree.
figuring out the live shit.
I think it's
especially
big
at trade show.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
We've talked about it so much, but I think it's just the authenticity of the content, right? Like Bowie Live is obviously not edited. It's not produced. It's just whatever's happening in that moment.
Yeah.
And people are craving more and more authenticity in everything that they're
doing. And it provides an opportunity to go behind the scenes. I mean, I think brands did absolutely do this at trade shows. I mean, Dancing with the Stars does a really good job. For example, they go live on TikTok
while the show is on.
Or they'll do it like during commercials.
That's pretty cool.
So you're on a commercial and you don't want to watch the commercial. So they're like, okay, go on TikTok. And then...
That's exactly what Cultural was talking about. Is like from one screen to the next.
Yeah.
You're not losing their attention even during a commercial.
Yeah, commercial happens there. You pull that phone back up. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
So great point. I would add to that social engine optimization. I think putting more attention and value into 2026, it is a seemingly small detail, but can make a huge impact overall with your content. So if you're already, working really hard on your organic and paid content, make sure that you're paying attention to the way your profile is optimized, the description, all the way from
basics.
Literally all the basics.
Profile description to the captions on the content, to the on-screen text. If you make a video, like what are the keywords that is being put in that on-screen text? Alternate text behind images on LinkedIn, things like that. So all of that is really important because ultimately people
discoverability, 100%.
Your brand through that content. Yeah,
I can agree with that.
Okay, so I think those are really great points. We got organic social, the entire umbrella of that, community, storytelling, Reddit was in there, social engine optimization. Anything else that we're kind of missing for 2026? I think those are some really big ones.
I think those are the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Because, if you try to do everything, I mean, we could say, I could say things around, I think live events, like in-person events are going to be huge, but like those are
experiential things that will be big. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really important to sit down and decide, obviously, this sounds right? Like we all know this, but it's important to sit down and decide which goals you want to start with because you can't do them all at once, right?
Right.
So determine what your Q1, what's most important in this first quarter, and then take a few steps backwards and determine, okay, if brand awareness, if we're at that stage of the funnel and that's the biggest thing, then which of these is going to get me, those views and that awareness, like where we're going to start. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, I think those are all really great points. I always want to point out that at Sociallyin, we're more than happy always to offer an audit, to sit down and chat with you if you have any specific questions around any of this stuff. If you're just wondering, okay, well, this is all a lot of really great information. I want to do it all, but where do I start? Or, hey, we tried this actually in 2025 and it didn't give us any results. So what are we doing wrong? Or where should we reallocate our resources? All those types of questions. We'd love to sit down and chat about any of that. So please hit us up. Leave us a comment if you've got a question, and tune in for our next episode.
Yep.
I like it.
Tune in next time.
Great.
Peace out.